Welcome friends. For me this is a very special occasion. Before I get started, आप में से कोई है जो सिर्फ हिंदी समझता है? Yes, no? So that makes my job easier. It's been a while since I spoke in Hindi, so I can continue in English. It's my great privilege to be here. I never imagined that I would be sitting in this spot. I'm nobody. And I'm saying it from depth of my heart. I know who I am. Just an ordinary person with, like any ordinary person, with a lot of pain, suffering, different issues in their life, happiness, experiencing happiness also. But because of this man, I got touched in a way that when I look back at my life, I can't imagine who I was. I cannot relate with the person who I used to be. And trajectory of my life has changed. Still changing. I'm a disciple just like you, many of you who have been on this path, some for a long time, some just started journey recently. And this is my first trip to India after Ishuji passed away. And I was just waiting for some sign, some watch from him to tell me that I need to come to India and meet the disciples that he left behind who are still seeking. So life brought me here for different reason to India, but also gave me opportunity to meet you, have your darshan, talk to you. So that's why I'm here. I'm doing this not because I ever wanted to do this. I'm a very introvert person, very reserved, yet I'm here sitting in front of you, somehow gathering my courage. Many of you have met me, told me how I have changed in past several years. I do not know what benefit people get out of me, that I leave completely to my master. I'm just doing as I'm told. I'm doing my bit and leaving everything to him. So I thought probably most of you are seeing me for the first time in person. Might have seen me on video. But let me start over and give you an introduction of who I am. I'll stick to the spiritual part mostly, maybe sprinkle a little bit of my background along the way so that you can get a perspective of what a journey for a seeker can be like. And I'm sharing this because I've been extremely fortunate as I look back as to what coincidences can happen in somebody's life. As you can see, I'm getting extremely emotional. So it's difficult for all of us because Ishuji passed away 4 years back. And let me start with some recent background as to why I'm here. It was around 2020, early 2020, because of the reasons that I'll get into later. He got me involved in the work that he was doing. And in front of many people, he instructed me to look into what's happening with the data construction, the meeting hall construction that he embarked on actually it started a long time back and many revisions have happened, but somehow the project was not going forward. And definitely he was concerned, and there have been constant set of series of events that led him to ask this question, why this is not going forward. And by that time, there were a lot of young folks around him, who wanted to do everything for him. I was one of them, being picked up by him, and there were many others. And so in front of a lot of people, he pointed at me, said, Jagannath, I want you to form an audit committee. I want you to lead an audit committee. Why don't you pick these two people also and form a committee and find out what's happening with the data construction. Because a lot of people were asking him the same question and wanted to see his dream of making data and having Dera Baba Samant Singh Ji in Bruce be ready so that he could inaugurate the place. And so he gave me that instruction in front of people, and I was surprised because I've never held a big position like being a chairman or doing audit. I do not know what it entails. So I was quite shocked, but it was command from somebody who not only respected as a senior person, a person who has just lived a life in this physical plane, in large capacities in an administrative service, but he has been an excellent businessman because I knew about his business background. He had narrated to me personally so many accounts of how his business did. But as a spiritual leader also, as a master, and it had been almost 6 years since I had been initiated by them. And so of course, I could not say no. And he directly pointed at me and in front of many people, so I said yes, of course, when master asks you anything, you just nod your head and accept. There is no, maybe my mind was saying no, but the answer that was coming from me was yes. And not only this event, but so many other times I found myself involuntarily saying yes or asking for things that I never wanted. None of those were selfish reasons, but somehow he got the words out of my mouth. Looking back, that's how it felt like, because I could not recognize the person who gave that answer of yes, I'll do it. And so I accepted that responsibility along with some other volunteers. We started investigating. I wouldn't call investigation because I was not familiar with what was going on prior to that. I was not near any of the organizations. Yes, I used to do my seva like so many other folks, and it took me a long time to understand what seva is, even though I'd been watching Ishuji's lecture and been wanting to maybe slowly turning inside and thinking that, okay, maybe I should be doing something. But in terms of geography, it made it really difficult for me to do any practical seva, because so I was in the United States, Ishuji was in Chicago, which is more towards the east side of the country, and I was on the west side in California. And I had my job and other things, so it kept me busy with that. So finding enough time to do seva was a bit challenging. And unlike here, where you can be in a setting in Dera, you could be situated close to there, and on the weekends you can go and serve the master and do any kind of seva to please your master. So the similar circumstances were not there. So it was difficult for me to do any kind of seva. So that the opportunity was never presented to me, and for most people who were coming from distant places, they would get once or twice in a year opportunity to meet master. It may seem like from India that we meet quite often, but we are also tied up in our own daily routine, jobs and whatnot. Even people who are in United States, they get to see master. They used to get to see master maybe once a year. So even though the distance is here, distance from India to United States much more, probably he's coming here more number of times, and you're getting an opportunity to see him more number of times than some of the folks in United States. So it depends on the circumstances. Some people are more fortunate. So I considered myself quite fortunate as the time passed along after initiation. So I was given this seva from him directly, And so I started looking into the business of the non-profit organization ISHA, Institute for the Study of Human Awareness, that he set up for the purposes of helping spread Great Master's message, all the saints' message. And I believe that was the purpose for which Ishuji himself went to United States, and he used to say he was there to take a ringside seat.
Yep.
And I always say that he was the ringmaster, but he would never accept that he was just taking an audience seat. He was driving it. Talking about driving, recently, just a little bit of detour, right after Mitti Seva, since I'm talking about the subject of Seva, in Bruce we had an event, we call it Mitti Seva, that's just following the tradition that Master set up. And so we had a great couple of days event, and so me and my wife, after the event, we are going to Chicago so that we can fly off from Chicago. And we're just, having satsang. Me and my wife, she's a disciple as well, she's initiate of Ishwaji. So we were just talking about the event that happened and how great it was. And so we get a feeling that Ishuji and Great Master is also traveling along. And so we talk about certain subject, and then we see a sign. There's a truck going ahead of us, and so we are asking, are we things are ready? What do you think? What's happening? It's been 4 years. How things will change in Bruce, because most of the people keep asking, when will the meeting hall be ready? And the standard answer that Ishuji used to give is, don't worry, when the money is there, things will happen. And let's see how things turn out, but don't be in a hurry. It's a long job. And in the truck we see, are you ready to drive? And as we go past the truck, on the side it says, are you ready to drive? It's a big job. So, stunned, I'm stunned that, okay, if you want to read the message that, okay, he's pulling for us. It says, we are pulling for you, are you ready to drive? So we take that as a signal that, okay, Master is with us, and we get the feeling as well. So with the task that Ishuji gave me, I started to understand better what does this organization Isha do under the cover. We only get to see the events and participate in the events, but there's a lot of activity that happens. There are Sevadas who are constantly working on things to make sure that Ishuji's dream is brought to fruition one day. So people make donations, and we need to account for that. And I had no idea of any of these things. I didn't know who were the major Sevadas. I would interact with them once in a while, because coming from California, I had just limited time. I would lose one day in travel, meet with him, spend 2 minutes, or not even 2 minutes sometimes, just listen to his lectures and fly back the same night. So time was short, and so I never had an opportunity to interact with the Sevadas there. But I knew, there were certain people who would always be around. And so in due course, I found out, okay, these are the people, I talked to them, our team talked to them. So that's how the Seva started. We finally presented a report to Ishwaji, saying that, Ishwaji, this is our finding, and we went through the report. And along with that, we also gave a recommendation of what should be done next. So, as a software engineer, I'd become a manager, and I sort of understood, how things has to be done, how to present a report and give a recommendation and so on. So, and I had a lot of help also. So we prepared a report and gave a recommendation. Ishuji said, I like the recommendation, let's go with it. And next thing that he does is, he says, Jagannath, I want you to become chairman of Dera Building Committee. I didn't see that coming. I thought I was just doing a one-off work, and yet he gave me this big work. And I could not see the tea leaves all the signals that he has been sending for a while. And again, I was in no position to say no. I thought, okay, this is just a temporary thing, And there I was, and he asked me to give the names of people I would like to be part of the committee, data building committee, he called it. And so I think he had stepped me up into that position by doing the audit, by making me interact with all the people who were involved in this project, all the way from architect to our own engineers, volunteers who had been working in this project. And so I got to see how a big project, although it is not a big project by any means, for me it was a brand new thing. And I didn't even understand a lot of the vocabulary involved in architecting a blueprint, and how you talk to different engineers and different facets of constructing any building. This is my as a professional role was a software engineer, and to look at physical construction, it was quite a learning. So when he gave me the work of data building committee, I realized that, okay, this is what he is doing. So linearly he's teaching me all these skills that is needed to manage this organization, data building committee. So I thought, okay, this is a fixed role. And by then I could see that as a part of doing audit, I realized that there were communication issues most of the time, and Ishwar is getting old, and so he needs help in managing aspect of this work. So that's why he's asking some of the young folks who are involved. So I was quite naive looking back, but he asked for this work, and I understood the value of seva, so I said yes, sure, we'll do that. And then we started our work, and I started going in a bit more depth, only to find time passed quickly. And it was 2020 December, I got the news of him leaving his body. And even though I had interacted with him quite a bit before that, I didn't think that he would leave so suddenly. Although I use this word suddenly, it's the sudden in the context of that I saw him just a month back, and then he's no more there. It came as a shock, because I was working with him on different things, and I was waiting for some guideline, some help from him. And I realized that some of the time that you spent with Master, you have to really make it a priority. It's number one. I had a very urgent meeting with him, important meeting, and I got held up in a bank. And at 12 o'clock I was supposed to have a meeting with him. And 12:30, I was still at the bank trying to sort out some issue, and I missed my meeting with him. And probably that was the most important meeting I was supposed to have in my life, and yet I missed that because I did not understand the value of time, what should be number one priority. I still regret. I hope he's going to forgive me someday and give me the meeting minutes of that day that didn't happen, or whatever he was supposed to convey to me. So I understand the importance of the time, what should be a priority. And we all have our own struggle, the mundane things that go on in our life. But somehow we need to overcome that and give our time that we promise to Master, maybe sometimes 5 minutes a day, as Ishiji used to say, just give me 5 minutes, start with the 5 minute. And whatever he asks for, he should be the center of our life. That was a big lesson for me, and to this day, after passing, I regret that. So this is how, and just before leaving, I used to interact with him on a monthly basis. So I used to live in San Francisco area in California. So I would go for maybe board meetings or community meetings and attend his discourse and just see him for 5 minutes and then come back. And at other times, I'd go for some company meetings, have a meeting with him, have nice lunch, dinner sometimes, lunch that turned out into dinner, business meetings that turned out into satsangs, wonderful satsangs. We would go around, sit in a restaurant, talk about all kind of things, starting from what the definition of soup is, to cheese, to protein, different clothes people wear, which countries he had been to, and we would just amazingly just sit there, have him talk and soak everything in. So I got those glimpses and got to hear a lot of stories from different people about their interaction with him, how it touched them in different ways. Sometimes we feel that being close to Master is such a gift, that you can get all the benefits from just by being near him. Actually, that is not the case. Personally, from my personal trainings, I can say that, and I have seen people around him who have not taken advantage of that wonderful opportunity that was presented to them, because maybe some kind of karmic relationship, or maybe that's how it was destined. But nevertheless, when we meet Master for the first time, when we come to know, it holds a very special meaning in our heart. But if you're too close to the Master all the time, you get involved in very trivial things, and the glow somehow of Master diminishes. You think of him as a normal person, you make it such a small matter, and I have seen people do that. So sometimes I think the distance is also a great benefit, but you have to see him again regularly as well, once a year, maybe just a couple of times a year, and have his darshan and have a little bit of time spent with him. That is also important. That I think that longing is a must. Otherwise, we just make it routine in our life, and we don't pay enough attention to Master, and we forget that he is not just a physical being, he is somebody special. For many of us, he has shown his true form, given a special grace, and indicated who he really is. Before coming into this path, I was chasing after material dreams, like most of the people in United States. That is a land of dreams. It is said that you can be whoever you want to be as long as you work hard, because there are a lot of opportunities presented to you. So I was also chasing that dream. So I graduated here, worked in Bombay, Pune, Bangalore, and then decided to chase that dream, have material success for myself. I did have a little bit of exposure to spirituality in terms of some saints. I grew up in West Bengal, Bihar, and I was familiar with the masters, not many masters, but whichever book I would get hold of, if it is spiritual in nature, I don't mind reading. I would also participate in religious, traditional Hindu events. So I didn't mind any of that, but never got in depth and understood the meaning of everything. I didn't know about satsangs, definitely not about Radha Swami and the Sant Mat. So, I went to United States to pursue my dream, and it was quite successful by most measures, like many people in young folks going over there and working in companies, most of them live a pretty good life. I was also doing the same thing. I was also, bringing up my family. So life was on a cruise, it was going along fine. And somehow, I had a book that I would always read about spirituality, about Ramakrishna Paramhans, Yogananda. I would have those set of books, I would always somehow lean back onto them. And my wife also brought a lot of spirituality with her, and her association with different masters in her family's background. So that gave me, a little bit of more push into look into these things. But consciously, I was not doing anything actively to pursue it. And so life, has interesting way, and masters have interesting ways of bringing up coincidence to set you on this path, or get whatever work done, by bringing coincidences and manifesting everything that they want done. So looking back, I'm just reflecting on this, that how it happened with me through another seeker's point of view. You all are seekers, and so I'm just sharing some of those intimate details so that you can sort of see another facet and relate to part of it, and evoke a lot of emotions, understand who this master was. I mean, even to this day, I love reading about different masters' life and how difficult life they had gone through in order to meet their master. Baba Jamal Singh Ji, and recently I read about Baba Somnath Singh Ji. All these masters, some of them have extremely difficult life, and in their time when there was not much opportunity to fly around, there was not means of transportation, they literally walked on their foot for thousands of kilometers from east to west, north to south, looking for somebody who can guide them, take them to the next level. But we are in a modern age, so masters also use the modern tools that are available to them. So I was going about doing mundane things in my life, and I was having a bit of challenge with my work, and I was trying to assimilate a lot of material. In this technological age, especially somebody who is in a technical job, and I'm supposed to read a lot of materials, and things are constantly changing, so I'm always catching up on whatever is happening in the world in terms of technology. So I wanted to read a lot of material, a lot of papers, technical papers, which are hard to assimilate, really to read but digest. And I was wondering if there's a better way to grasp all the material, without me putting hard work, like printing out the papers, literally going line by line, understanding it. AI wasn't there at that time, so now with AI, you can ask all kind of questions, and it will give you a summary of whatever you want to know, and it can explain to you as a 5-year-old, but unfortunately, I didn't have those things. In retrospect, it was good. I can't imagine how it would turn out in this day and age. We'll see when this day passes. So there I was, looking for answers of how to gain more knowledge, absorb more technical knowledge. So it was just, problems of this world. And I, like many folks, I just go to internet, do Google search, YouTube search for increasing concentration. So my belief was that if I could increase concentration, maybe whatever I'm reading, I'll absorb it more. That was my theory. So I started looking on, concentration. I remember from past stories that there were saints who could just look at books or hold the books between their palms and absorb the material. I didn't know whether that was true or not. So anyway, I was curious, and I was always excited by these stories about saints doing miracles, occult stories. So anyway, that seemed interesting exercise. So I'm at work, searching on YouTube for concentration or power of concentration, and some, YouTube results show up, and most of them are, small clips, some guys talking, and this is 2014, and the YouTube was still in its infancy, and I guess the researchers haven't really put things together properly to exploit or to direct people in certain way. So there I was, searching for power of concentration, and some videos showed up, and subsequently, as I clicked on the most search results, I started seeing another handsome man show up, middle-aged man, and sometimes wearing very beautiful caps, and his videos were captioned in a very interesting way that no other similar videos had captions in them. And the running length of these videos were pretty large, 2 hour, 2.5 hours, some even 3 hour. And the titles really fascinated me, and I thought, wow. I just ignored first couple of search results because a lot of people want to maybe put movies and with a nice caption but not really have any content. So I dismissed it, went on to the next set of search results. But he kept following me, the search results had him with the interesting titles. So eventually I gave up. I thought, okay, let me at least peek into it, what it is. So I think I clicked on 5 levels of creation. And it didn't take more than 5 or 10 minutes before I was completely glued to it. And so immediately I texted my wife. This was around lunchtime, and told her that you should watch this video. And she was in the kitchen trying to prepare lunch for me, because during lunch break I would come home, and it turned out that my office was, in those days it was very close to the house, so I would go back for lunch. I guess it's not possible these days living in city. So I was in a small setup in Cupertino, California. So I go back for lunch, so I had maybe watched another 10-15 minutes of that video, go back home for lunch, and my wife looks at my text and she thinks that I'm not going to watch 2.5 hours of video. I'm cooking lunch, but I normally don't send her text, like this randomly. So she thought it must be important, and she decided to click on it, and then she was glued as well. So she's cooking and watching. So in the main living room, TV is playing with a loud volume, and she's cooking. My son at that time, he was in school. So I come back for lunch, and we are all excited, giddy like kids, talking loudly. Oh, did you see this part? Did you hear that part? We started discussing, and we were having lunch, and watching that, and that became a routine. Every day we would watch it almost 24/7. It seems like, because the time we got up, we would put on his video, and then before sleeping, that was the video that some other lecture would be going on. So on and on for months, and we started doing, of course, a lot of research on who this person is, where does he live, what does he do, and so on. And started gathering information through his talks as well, that okay, he has a non-profit organization, he gives lectures, he goes around, and we were marveling at our luck that a person like this exists in the United States, so close to us. And before that, we were spiritually inclined, but we would watch, some old videos of old masters once in a while. But this was never a routine that we'll just be completely immersed into this. So this went on for a while, and then we started waiting for when we can actually meet this person, because he gives a live satsangs. And so we found out that next year in 2014 February he was going to be in Southern California. And although I was excited, I had my own obligation of going to a job every day, and it was not like I could just take off and just go and meet him. And I didn't know much about him, his personal life. I didn't even know that he lived in Chicago, and I hadn't, of course, met him before that. So we started anticipating when we would meet him in person. And looking back, I started realizing certain changes that I had never observed before that. So this was even before meeting. This is after finding him on YouTube. And I'm just narrating some of these things, maybe consciously. It may not be happening to you or may not have happened to you. But when I try to always look back, because I can't recognize where I am. My life has completely flipped. And a lot of it for excellent things, the miracles that he produced for me personally, I do not think I can ever do that. So once he came in my life, just through electronic means, I started feeling change in my life. And so that spoke to me about the kind of person he is. I mean, he doesn't need to actually meet you, and still start transforming your life. I started seeing that my dreams have become different. Normally, I could never remember my dream to any extent. Mostly it will be sort of fleeting away, going away very quickly. When you wake up in the morning, you remember part of it, that okay, yeah, you are doing something, you're riding a bike or you're flying or whatever activity you are doing in your dream, but you just wake up and then you lose immediately and you think, oh, what was that, and then. So, but I started noticing that the dreams are a little more resilient, a little more colorful. I can remember those even after waking up to a great detail. And while it was taking place, it didn't occur to me why it is happening. I could not, look at the chain of these things happening in my life. So these things started repeating more and more. This is even before Ishuji meeting me in person. But he gave me a glimpse of a very personal event that I would like to share. I've shared in other events as well. This is just narrating as a seeker, this is not as a person who has accomplished anything. I'm still at a ground level. The day I met Ishuji and got initiated, I'm still at the same level. So I'm not a master, just a sevadar, just doing physical seva. I'm not boasting at all by any means. So I remember in my dream that I'm just a small boy, 12, 13-year-old, wearing a trunk. And I just, realized that there are some noises coming from somewhere. What seemed like some kind of music being played. And so I look around and I can't find what's going on, so I wait for some time, and the sound of this music grows and grows. And then I turn left, I see there are what seemed like a procession coming from far. There's a Kacha road going, and some people are walking on that, and there's seemed like a bullock cart coming. And so, and the intensity of the music is growing with time. So I'm able to figure out that there are people walking towards me. I'm able to make out, the outline of people and the carriage being drawn. The cart, bullock cart that is coming. And people are dancing, they're celebrating something, and of course the musical instruments are playing. I don't know the role of the musical instruments, I wondered if there's a meaning to it. But I realized that there's some kind of celebration going on. And the whole thing comes very close to me. And then I see that on this bullock cart, there's a huge statue of Ganesha, elephant god, sitting there. And before that day, I never, thought much about Lord Ganesha. I never dwelled on any of the typical Indian god and goddesses. So anyway, the statue comes very near me, and I see that this statue has a huge belly, and because it's a huge statue, and I'm just marveling at the statue, and my vision somehow goes inside the belly, and I get as if transported inside the figure itself. And I get there inside, and I see there's a man sitting inside this whole statue. So I'm quite shocked. Wow, okay, I thought it's just a statue, made out of clay and straw, but a man is actually sitting inside this statue. So that surprised me. And when I looked at this man, it was Ishwapuri sitting there, smiling. And I don't know what happened. Suddenly, I bent my knees, I just touched his feet, asked for grace, and the dream got over. I don't remember anything beyond that. But I woke up and I still remembered the details. I remember how the music was, I remember how the whole thing was coming close to me. I remember how my vision slowly got transported inside. I saw him inside, and so I wrote up in the detail. I crafted a mail and sent it to him saying that, okay, this is what I saw in the dream. And very quickly I got a response back saying that I was happy to meet you in the dream. I'll be happy to meet you in physically as well. And we were just anticipating in a month or so meeting him. His event was going to happen. So I, reflecting back, he's not an ordinary man. I mean, I hadn't even met him. I just only heard his lectures, and I didn't know of any disciple before that who had any experience. So he gave me this personal experience that looking back, he was telling me, who he was, and probably he was growing faith in me. And being an engineer can be two-edged sword. You can be extremely skeptical of anything any saints or babas say, but he never looked like a baba. He never wore orange clothes. He never had all this mala in his neck. He never pretended to be anyone. So a part of me always liked that part, that okay, he's not showing off anything. He's like a regular guy. So I can believe that he's not going to cheat me. Most of us are afraid that okay, you'll get cheated, right? So none of that was there. So and at the same time he's giving me glimpses of who he was. But I thought, okay, that's a very interesting dream, and I sort of dismissed it. You can say, okay, it just mind cooks up things. You like something, so your mind is making up things and showing exactly what you like. But as I continued on this path, I realized that and when I looked at the time frame of when all these things started happening, it could not just be a coincidence that these things are happening to you. And not only that, we confront him, we ask him questions. There were other incidents that happened, similar experiences. We ended up asking him when he was at our house. We told him, okay, this is what happened and this is the outcomes, and he acknowledged them. And so that solidified our faith in him, that he is no ordinary being. Although he never talked about himself, he would always talk about his master. Right? Most of the conversations that I had, even business conversations, ended up turning into talking about satsangis of great master who benefited so well. And of course you all know probably Ishar Singh's story. He would not let any meeting go without reciting that story. And so he gave me all these glimpses early on before meeting, and finally the day came. I was happy to meet him. I was a little hesitant that he would not accept me for whatever reason. I had this block in my mind that I'm not quite fit for this path because I knew the horrible things I have done. I'm just an ordinary person, so I've never pursued spirituality seriously. I have meditated once in a while, but never a full-time seeker, because there are so many examples of ascetics giving up everything they have and trying to pursue whatever their spiritual goals are, yet they can't. And so I pale in comparison to that. So I never thought that I'm anywhere close to fit. I didn't qualify for any of these things. And so it so happened that during that meeting they said, okay, there are too many people trying to meet Ishwarji for one-on-one meeting, so we are going to send the family along. So me and my wife go, and I'm so happy, because I always thought that my wife is qualified. She comes from a good family, she's very spiritual, she has been vegetarian all her life, so she has the credentials to get qualified. So if I just be with her, I'll automatically get qualified as well. So that was my hope, and seems like it's partly true, because Ishwarji told her that, yeah, you're going to make rapid progress and I'm going to take time. So I'm seeing that play out now. And so I give a lot of credit to her actually for, spiritually sort of pushing me. And so we are good friends. We encourage each other. Ishwarji, we asked for initiation, and I wanted to get into his list. He used to talk about list A, B, and C. Initially, I was so afraid that I would not get into any list. So I told him that put me in any list, I don't care, And I think he put me in the last list, So he said that come for Bhandara, that's when he would initiate us. So we ended up going for Bhandara event.
When was that?
This was 2014. Yeah, this was, I think, it's in Rice Lake.
Rice Lake, exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
Were
You were there too?
No, we were in 2016.
2016. Okay. Yeah. So this is 2014, and we remember that traveling to Rice Lake, it's not an easy task, especially if you're used to American ways of traveling. You just fly from point A to point B, maybe take a car and then you are at your destination. But this was not a small journey, You have to really plan out where you're going to stay because
There was nothing there.
it was nothing in those days. There were not too many sites and too many hotel reservations you could make. So you just had to let go and figure out.
Bhandara was always during snowstorms.
Exactly. So we experienced that. How during travel, that was one of the first snows we experienced actually.
For them, yes.
Wonderful, yeah. That's a memorable event, A lot of unique things happen in the path. We encountered our first snow. We played in the snow, before Bhandara, and walked on, traveled on the roads that there was not good navigation, and we didn't know how the cities, the destination would look like. Anyway, we found a lot of people at that place, and there was a lot of excitement, and of course, for the first time we were listening to him talk in Bhandara in person, and we loved all the stories that he would narrate during Bhandara events. And so we stayed till the last day because we wanted to get initiation. And again, I was afraid that for whatever reason, Ishwarji would say, no, you are not qualified, you need to wait. And so that I had that fear, and with that fear I went, and of course Sevadas screened me, so at least I qualified as far as the screening was concerned. But I didn't know that what Ishwarji would ask, and I didn't know of many satsangis at that time. So I had no way of knowing, what happens when you go inside. So anyway, I was seeing, some people come back crying, So I was waiting in line to see him get his acceptance, and I would see people come out of the room, maybe crying, sometimes disappointed, sometimes happy. So I'll try to gauge what mood master is in, And so anyway, my turn comes, and Ishwarji looks at me, he asks, do you meditate? I said, yes. Yeah, I try to, but, nothing happens. He looks at his paper, he says, great masters approves of you. He will accept you. You are initiated. Go over there, wait for the instructions. So I somehow overcome that, I was so happy, as if a weight off of your chest is removed completely, because I was carrying that burden that, okay, I'm not qualified, I was feeling too small about myself. And, but he saw something else, great master saw something else. And so that's how my journey began. And first couple of years, we would try, like many folks that I talk to now, sit in the right hours, 3 o'clock, and try to meditate for a long time. Nothing happens, and we try our best, and we don't know what else to do next. Now even master has passed away, and they wonder what's going to happen. And even for folks who have been with Ishwarji for even longer than me, they also wonder what's going to happen. So, the distance itself is not a criteria. It is the longing that you have for the master. Sometimes large distance can create that longing that is actually needed for you to grow in spirituality. So that came as a hard lesson also for me, because initial few years when I was away, I thought I was doing well. When I got closer, maybe some of that aura went away. So it can be a thing that people need to watch out for, not necessarily take it for granted that people who are close are more blessed, they're getting more darshan of him. In some cases it is, it depends on people who are able to take advantage of those things. So, for me, the struggle continued for several years, and also in my personal career, I was not able to see as much. Although it was doing well, I was realizing that the life of in the corporate life, business life, is not as good, especially when you are spiritual. Things bother you more and more. The infighting, the rat race that happens. So I started wondering if I can somehow get off of this maze and completely get free, especially when you have a master. And so somehow things changed in a way that I wanted to get away for some time from my work. And of course in the background constantly Ishiji's thought would happen for whatever reason. Maybe because of his grace, and because we are pulled in certain way and our attention is in the right direction. I remember even after meeting him, I used to watch, do other activities, and somehow he would intervene in those activities. Mostly, I remember that when I'm watching some nice entertainment video, on Netflix there was a gruesome serial called Narcos. It was about drug lords, and that was very well made. So from artistic point of view, we loved it. And so if it is a night time that I would watch some episodes, and then some thoughts would remain that okay, this is what happened in that episode. And so I would have dreams where I'm watching that same episode, in a different maybe setting, same characters, but those characters would morph into Ishwaji, and there was especially one character, who had long hair, a dark fellow, and he would somehow turn into Ishwaji, and then I would start laughing, hey Ishwaji, you look funny, because now it's a blend of that character and Ishwaji. So Ishwaji is one of the old pictures, he had a little bit longer hair when he was a bit younger. So somehow I saw a blend of that. And so it is a pull that you have from your master, that constantly keeps him in your thought. And so in the dream also it gets translated in that way. So the distance, when I hadn't seen him much, somehow he would play out in those dreams, and the separation would manifest in terms of some role, that he's playing in the dream, or some activity that he's partaking in. So this can be used to advantage about thinking about the master. If you are too close to him, you take it for granted sometimes, you trivialize things. It's a very common occurrence for you, so it doesn't hold that special a meaning. So, I encountered that also, as time passed. Things were not going really well in my life, and I just wanted to get away from that. And Ishwaji was playing his role, he was always in the background. So I thought, and this was summertime, and as a family we had thought about taking a vacation, because my wife always complained that I'm too busy. I'm always married to my laptop, married to my job, and my son was growing up, and so we had to, when he would have vacation, we had to take advantage of that. So we were thinking about taking some vacation, and it was summertime, and then we remembered that Ishuji also takes vacation around that time. So we wondered if he would be. We wanted to go to Europe and other places as well for vacation, and we thought, let's see what Ishuji is doing. Is he going anywhere? And we went to Ishanyu's site, and then we found that yes, he's going to Europe. And it was just a week left, and so I tried to register. It didn't go through, and so we got disappointed that okay, no, nothing can be done. Even this opportunity is lost. It is bad luck. Somehow my wife suggested that why don't you ask Ishuji directly? Send him a mail. And by that time, I didn't have too many exchanges, and I thought, for this trivial thing, trivial thing for him probably, it's a wonderful opportunity for me, but I don't want to bother him for this small thing, Now he will have to talk to many people, disrupt his routine, and it's just a week left before he embarks on this multi-country trip. So, I hesitated quite a bit, and I thought, okay, what's the worst that will happen, he will say no. So we wanted to go along on the journey with him, we somehow, travel and experiences, discourses in different places at the same time, see Europe, go to different places. So, both the tasks will be done in same trip. And so I remembered, how I used to worry about my initiation, that, he would not initiate me. And then, so I thought, okay, I should not think of it too negatively. Let me shoot out a mail. So I sent a mail, quickly I get a response back. So I tell him that, remember, you used to go with Great Master to your uncle's house, and can I have the same privilege, can I accompany you on your trip to Europe? And got a response very quickly. He said, yes, you can come. I'm going to have Jonathan send you all the details. Jonathan was our president back then.
Rapkin.
Jonathan Rapkin, yes, yeah.
I thought he was coming in today.
Yeah,
I thought maybe.
Okay. Yeah, so he replied, and Jonathan helped me get the address for the hotel and all the details that I needed to make a reservation. So we were so excited that okay, it's a short time, and to book the hotel, and we wanted to plan out the whole trip for ourselves, Europe trip. And so there was a lot of activity to be done, and I got on with that, and I called the hotel in London where he was staying, and Jonathan gave the address to. I made a reservation, and everything worked out. And a couple of days later, I get a call from what sounded like a lady, old age lady, asking for me on the phone. Is this you? Can I speak to Mr. Jagannath? She could pronounce the name. And I said, yeah, it's me. I'm calling from this hotel. You have made a reservation for a month. I said, sorry, and you have paid $5,000 for a reservation for a whole month. Are you sure you want to stay that long? I said, no, sorry, I just wanted to stay for a few days, accidentally, I booked the hotel, paid $5,000 a pound, without even realizing that I'm paying so much money, I couldn't even calculate that cost for just a few days of stay cannot be $5,000, Probably the rate was, 150 or something like that for a night. So anyway, so we were so excited, to be with him that nothing else mattered. We were in cloud nine, happy to accompany him in whatever form. And so, we started our journey. We reached London, and we get a mail from Ishaji, making sure, asking us, are we okay? Did we reach okay? And he said, why don't you rest now? You must be tired after a long trip, and then we'll see you tomorrow. And so we got surprised that Master is attending to us, and he's asking about our whereabouts, well-being, are we rested or not? So we were quite touched. Not only he granted us this wish of accompanying him, we didn't know in what form. We thought, we'll be attending satsangs, that's all. But he's now checking with us, making sure that we are there. And so we tell him that, yeah, we are okay. And so next day, we go to satsang hall. It was a wonderful arrangement, almost 200, 300 people attended in London event. I think it was 2017. Wonderful food. I remember quite a bit about the food because it was so tasty. I had more than my share of that and felt drowsy all the time after that. And so when the satsang was about to start, somebody came and one of the seniors, Sevadars, he started shouting our names, me and my wife's name, and said, anybody from California, with this name, come out. And, we were not expecting this. Probably we were playing something on our phone or checking news or talking to others. And after a couple of repetitions, we realized that they're calling us. And so we then started shouting, yes, it's us. We didn't know what was the context. Somebody's just calling us. Maybe we don't belong here, because we could not register properly. So sort of a fear also kicked in, that we are being singled out, so maybe we'll be thrown out. So anyway, he came out. And so he takes our picture and then goes back. So we came back to our places and we're waiting. We didn't know what's going on. Nobody told us about anything. We knew that there was a difficulty in getting into the hall because it had exceeded the capacity of the hall, and there was some fire-related regulation. But only later we came to know that Ishiji said it's okay to allow a couple of more people. So we made exception for additional some people. So anyway, again, this satsangi comes up and he again shouts our name. And so we come out now this time, Bibi Diane is also there. And then she leads us to, she tells us, Ishiji wants to see you. And we were thrilled. And, so it was just me and my wife at that time. And our son was just playing somewhere, he didn't want to sit there, of course, he was too young. And so we called him, okay, let's go, Ishiji wants to see us. And we were so excited. And so three of us go, and he's in a car, waiting for us. And so I'm from United States, we are in UK. And so my first instinct is to run towards the passenger side where he would be sitting so that I can touch his feet and have his blessings. So I ran towards what I thought was the passenger side. But I found him on the other side. He's thinking, why is he sitting on the driver's side? He should be the passenger. And after a couple of seconds, I realized that, okay, I'm in UK, so he's sitting on the other side. So anyway, so in the hurry, I could not touch his feet right then and there. So he was doing something on his phone, then he realized that, okay, we are here. And then he looked at us, so I was the first one. And so he said, Jagannath, your mail, what you wrote, it really touched my heart. And I still remember the way he held my hand, soft hand, a man who is nearing 90, a little cold, the touch, and he says these words to you. I was awestruck. I didn't know how to comprehend that. A master tells you that. As a disciple, yes, we appreciate some of the moments. But coming up from the master, I was also touched. The fact that he is expressing in these ways, that his heart was touched by just a simple expression that I gave, a reminder of him spending time with his master. So, at other times, from my experience, I saw how he treasured association with his master. And he hardly, talked much about his accomplishment. He always gave credit to his master that, anything that he has done in his life, all of it, he can see that it's not him doing, his master is doing all that. And he talked about many experiences as I spent time with him at different, occasions. And so he held my hand and he said, we are going to spend a lot of time together. We'll have lunch, dinner, breakfast, we'll have plenty of time in this trip. And we were not expecting this, and it was such a boon, just looking back, just because of this simple expression, and before that, I used to, of course, watch his lecture, and where he would talk about building a data for his master, and I would wonder that if a person from India who could have everything in government capacity here, he didn't have to leave any of this position, and he can have a very wonderful life here as a senior public administrator. For him to give up everything and settle in the United States, I was getting a sense of how difficult a life can be in the United States. We have impression that a lot of money is made there, but similarly expenses are also there, especially for a person of Ishwaji's caliber to give up everything in India and settle there in old age, not having constant means of income. So it surprised me. I marveled at that, and I felt that we should all be doing something to help him if he wants to do that, right? If he wants to build a data for his master. That's all I understood, And so, in my capacity over time, I was also trying to do that, help him basically. I could not see a old man, do that by himself, by asking some people. I felt that everybody should actually participate in that activity to help him. If a man can give whole life for his master, then a little bit of help from us is just, especially as a seeker. And so getting a time from this person who is saying that he's going to spend, lunch, dinner, and a lot of time. So we were shocked, we were pleasantly shocked. And I remember after meeting him how happy we were, and we were wondering in what setting this will turn out. We didn't know. And so we attended the satsang, we had wonderful lunch, and then we go back to our hotel. And before that, we had shared some of our room number details, because we didn't know how somebody would reach out to us. Anyway, we had given some details, and we didn't. I think I had my phone working, and that is also a challenge. How do you get communication going in a different place? So anyway, we retired to our room, and then the phone in the room rings, and I didn't even know that there was a phone in the room. So anyway, located the phone, picked up the phone, and then there was a voice from the other side asking me certain question: where do you want to go? These are the restaurants that people have advised him. And it took me a couple of seconds to register that these are the restaurant names. This is in London, and the names were, phonetically spoken a little in a funny way. And so I could not really register that these are the restaurant names, and I'm being asked by somebody to pick from these lists. So a couple of seconds went by, and I realized that, okay, I'm delaying the response, And then finally I realized that, oh, it is Ishwaji, because I've never heard his voice on a telephone, a landline. So anyway, I got to my senses, I picked up a random restaurant, and then he asked me, what time do you want to go for dinner? So he again gives me some choice. I don't know what will please him. So I want to say yes to everything that he chooses. That was my response. So anyway, in a hurry, I just said, okay, this seems fine. And he said, okay, good. I'll see you in the lobby. So we agreed at time, 7 o'clock, that he would meet us in the lobby. And normally I'm a very lazy person. I procrastinate, to the last minute. I'm not very organized. But something came upon me that, master is, it was not a logical thinking, but, somehow I got arranged within myself. And I called the restaurant, I made a reservation for 5 people. I booked Uber to show up at 7 o'clock exactly. It was raining, so I made sure that I have umbrella as well. So we were all prepared. So the time came, 7 o'clock, we met him in the lobby. And he was asking me, how are we going to get there? I told him, everything is done, Ishwarji, I've booked the Uber. And he was quite impressed. Oh, you booked already? Okay, great. Right then and there, Uber came, we sat in the Uber. And Ishwarji is asking about, how to use the Uber coupons. He had $15 coupons in the United States. So it surprised me that a man of this stature asking me about Uber. It puzzled me. That was my first glimpse of how a small conversation he can have with you as just a friend. He's a person that cannot be compared with anything else, right? If you look at his accomplishment as a normal human being in this life, he far exceeds many people, right? And spiritually, we can't even comprehend, right? He's the Lord of the universe, as it says, right? So, and here I'm observing him, talking about trivial matters. That seemed like, so I just say, yes, Ishwarji, you can use, these coupons. And he's telling me that, he's asking me, am I able to hear him properly, understand what he's saying? Because he had just lost his teeth. And he was saying that there's some kind of swasha sound comes, so he wanted to make sure that, I'm able to understand properly whatever he was saying. So this, so I got a glimpse of some of those, small trivial conversation you can have. Anyway, we get to the restaurant. It was beginning to drizzle, and as we got down, my heart sank because I saw there were so many people waiting outside the restaurant, and there was hardly place to stand. And so I thought, Ishwarji is there, his wife Toshiji is also there. How am I going to make them stand in line? So the fear was growing in me, anxiety, And I saw a couple of benches, and a lot of seniors people were already sitting there, it was occupied. So I could not even evict them to make space for Ishwarji and Toshiji. So, then I remembered that, okay, I had made a reservation, so I went up to the front and then told them that, I just made a reservation in the name of Jagannath for 5 people. He says, yes sir, your table is ready, please come. So out of the crowd of people, as if, the crowd separated, we just walk in and the waiter takes us to the table, and we sit down, and all my anxiety just drop away. I realized that Ishwarji is in the back and, he's just guiding us, and it was a miracle that I was experiencing, out of so many people who were waiting. We just came out of Uber, right? And go up front, the table is ready, and that was the only table ready at the time. All of the rest were occupied. So anyway, we sit down, we start talking, and it was time to order. And so Ishwarji orders dosa, masala dosa, and so we order a few other appetizers and things. And the waiter comes back after a few minutes, says, sorry sir, dosa is not available. And we get a little upset that, dosa can be made anytime, what's the big deal, Anyway, so that was the official response, so we adjusted to that. So, we ordered something else for Ishwarji. And we start talking, we are so happy, we are talking about different kind of experiences that we had. And she started sharing everything. Ishwarji is listening to everything. Toshiji is also asking about, my work. Ishwarji is asking about my work, how busy I am, and so on. My wife complains to Ishwarji that this guy is always working 24/7. Doesn't matter, he's close to his laptop, it doesn't give any time for us, and so on. There's a barrage of complaint going on. Ishwarji listens to it, smiles, and always other things. Ishwarji says, you should take her for shopping, you are in London, spend some money, make her happy, and he's giving me a lot of marital advice, right, in front of my wife. And my son is also talking quite a bit, and so finally our order arrives, and there's a dosa also along with that, So we realized that, if Master wishes, he can manifest anything. What is dosa? So the restaurant itself, parted almost, to give way to us. So that was a wonderful experience, and at the end of the day, we dropped him off at his room, and he tells us that tomorrow he's going to have breakfast with us. So he's fulfilling everything that he said, in the first meeting in the car. And so we are excited. Okay, we'll get more attention. It was in the busy situation. There was a lot of noise in the restaurant. We could not hear properly, and we could not have just one-on-one engagement with Ishwarji. So next day, 8 o'clock, we're supposed to meet at lobby. We take the elevator. Elevator somewhere stops in the middle, and there comes Ishwarji, right at that time, and he walks in, and so we all go down to the breakfast lobby area, and he comes out of the elevator. So he's the first one out, walking out, and then he turns around and looks at both me and my wife, and he said, "Whatever you shared, all that can be experienced inside. You don't need to go anywhere else." So he's not only, giving a normal, worldly advice, okay, go for shopping, go for sightseeing and all that, asking about my job, but yet he's summarizing that everything can be had inside, all kind of experiences that you guys talked about. So we were sharing experience of a lot of other people that we heard in the path, and so he's acknowledging that we sat down for breakfast, and we were so excited. We had just discovered a masala tea, at that time, that you can get in a small package, and that was maybe invention at that time. This was 2014, probably it was here already, but somebody introduced us to that, and we were thinking about going around and for tour and all that, and we missed this Indian tea. Indians, wherever they go, they want to have their tea in the morning. So in this small package, you can have this tea, just have a hot water and then put this, and you have your masala tea. So we loved that fact. So we had carried some, because we knew that, okay, we're going to meet Ishwarji, and, if there is a chance, we'll share that with him. So that chance presented to us, in the breakfast. So we carried those small, packets of masala tea, and we told him, "Ishwarji, do you know, you can get this tea packaged with sugar, milk, and you just put it in a hot water and you have your Indian tea." So we were chit-chatting like a small kid. And so this is the first time, we're talking in any serious way. And he asks us, what is it about my talk that, you find interesting? So he really wants to know what attracted us to this path. And I'm sure he, when given enough time, he asked the same question to others. Because at other times he said that people write to me that, "Oh, your satsang was good, the clothes that you were wearing was nice," and so they all talk about different things, but not about the message that he gave. So that I found out later, but I think in that same tradition he was asking that question as to what exactly you found interesting in my talk. And so, I was almost like there was a flood of thought came that there are so many things I can say, but I had to, in a short amount of time, I had to say this. And my, sense was that I have not heard anybody explain spirituality in such a simple terms, without borrowing anything from the past, from the spiritual texts, Veda, or any complicated language. And the fact that he says that, if you want to go to Hawaii, you have to actually buy a ticket for Hawaii. You have to go there. You cannot just read the description of Hawaii and say that, okay, there are these guava plants, there are these different beaches, nice beaches. You actually have to experience the Hawaii, So the fact that you're talking about a very practical path, that attracted us. Most of the discourses you hear in other places, it's about a description of a place. This can be done, but not how to attain it, So we realized that this is a very practical path. So that is what appealed to us. And in that meeting, he shared a lot of details about how great masters helped him in different situations. Especially, he talked about how in IS exams he was not able to get through, and after a great master found out, he asked him to try the exam again, and he came second in All India. And so, and he talked about various other places where he held very powerful positions, and he was not capable of doing that himself. He had many large organizations. He would say that 50 states, head of states would report to him. He didn't know what was the right question to ask them, but he ended up asking the right questions, even without having any experience. And he related all of that. He talked about different businesses. He gave a little bit of idea of that. And so, it was a wonderful meeting. Almost we spent 1 hour having breakfast and talking about various things. And at the end of the meeting, he says, I have to go somewhere now. And why don't you come? I'm going to have one-on-one meeting at some other place around 10 o'clock. So you come over there. And we were thinking, we just now spent 1 hour with you, and you're going to give us 3 minutes for personal meeting. We had 1 hour of personal meeting, so we couldn't understand. But we were happy. Any extra second you give, we would love it. So yeah, we went for that. We had that one personal meeting with him, and where we could express individually, whatever we wanted. And my wife wanted me to be happy, and I saw the result of that transforming my life again. There's a lot of happiness never comes in a straight line. There's always a lot of twist and turn, and then finally you become happy and realize. So it came in the same way. I decided to quit my job. And I didn't have a job in front of me, because there were so many quarrels going on in the organization and so many infighting, that I decided to quit. And the whole organization knew that I'm quitting. And almost a month was left. Somebody approached me and said that you don't have to quit. You don't have to do any work. Just be in my organization just for namesake. If you don't want to do anything, that's okay. If you want to do anything, it's up to you. It's voluntary. I said, wow, that's a perfect job for me. I don't have to do anything. And that's what ended up. So I ended up taking that job. So the one complaint to master that I'm too busy, and I'm not happy, changed the world for me. I had no job. I would check my mail once a day, or not even once a day, maybe once a week. And for first 3 months, absolutely no work. And I would get to actually travel depending on whether I liked or not. And so I thought that maybe I can use this to my advantage. So if Ishwarji travels around, and if I can combine my official trip with that, then I would do that, And so I found myself in those situations where Ishwarji was coming back from India trip, I think probably 2019 or something like that. I forget the exact timing. And that's when I took a trip to France, and I realized that on the way back he's going to stop at London. Then I changed my flight. I sent him a mail saying that Ishwarji, I just found out that you'll be in London on an unscheduled trip to give satsang. Can I come and visit you for a few minutes? Yes, come over. So I was looking for those kind of opportunities, and I was presented those. And Ishwarji would tease me at times. How's your job going? Are you okay with that? And I would say, well, Ishwarji, I have nothing to do, so I'm taking it easy. So, the life, when I said that, I don't think that, my life would be like this. I'm saying that from my experience that, Ishwarji gave, sometimes unsaid without asking, sometimes because we asked for it. and because he said, what do you want, and he's willing to give you that. And so, whatever the reason be, why we wanted certain things, we don't know, but, if Master is willing to give you, I think it's important also to ask the right thing, right? Things that are material in nature, that are not long lasting. What is the point of that? Ultimately, as a seekers, we want to go beyond all this material and find love in His presence. Be a seeker, be united with our beloved. That is our goal. So, but we sometimes have our own desires, because it's natural also, because we are living in this world and we are tied to this world. Most of our connections, entanglements are with this world, things of this world. So it's natural. And in my struggle also, I had asked him a couple of times that, okay, these are trivial things going on, can you take care of it? And he taught me a lesson, and he said, go inside and ask your master, So I was a little surprised with that answer, that why are you saying that, I'm asking you directly, you should give me that answer right now. Yes, if I could go inside and ask you, I would do that too. But this is a way to tell you that what you ask outside is not permanent. If you ask inside, everything will be given to you, and maybe you won't ask the things that you are asking now, because you will have so much more. And so, in association with him, I was getting a glimpse of some of that. We had breakfast and in London, and then as he went to other venues, I bumped into him. Although he wanted to spend a lot more time, but he realized that he is a human being as well. He needs to attend to his family. There are satsangis that are taking care of him. He needs to be with them, go to different venues. So he has physical limitation. So although we want him to be here in India, he cannot be practically here. I would love him to be in California. I had asked many times that, I've purchased a new car, why don't you come to California? I want you to enjoy this new car, and it's an electric car, you'll have fun. Because I realized that he enjoyed everything. There was nothing called a small matter. He could talk about a simple iPhone. A new iPhone was about to roll out, and so this happened. With His grace, he wanted to come and visit our house after this Europe trip, and he just called me, left a voicemail saying that he wants to give us a surprise and visit our house, and we were extremely surprised, thrilled. And as we drove him to different places, he was asking some very simple questions. A new iPhone was about to roll out, iPhone 10 at that time, I believe. And so he was asking, what are the new features of this phone? Should I buy it? Is it worth buying it? And he had read about some description of the features, and he wanted to know about what is cloud computing. So I had to explain to him, there's not computer, there is no computer in the cloud. It's just so I had to sort of get into the weeds to explain to him. And then, my family was also there in the car. I was driving, I was trying to, we were in mountains of California region. There was a place called Mount Madonna, Sierra Nevada mountain ranges. And so it's very curvy roads, So we were trying to, and I had just booked a very big car, I wanted to book a Land Rover, but I realized that, I was not familiar with that type of model. So I ended up booking something similar, Range Rover, and because I wanted to remind him of his association with Dalai Lama when he was in Tibet, hosting him in Dharamshala. And so I thought that, this is a way for satsangi or disciple to please his master, by reminding certain things and maybe share more about his interaction with other people, get to hear more story. So this is a huge car, and I had on my phone I was trying to navigate while having conversation with him. He was sitting next to me, and my family in the back, they are also trying to engage with Ishwarji, get attention with him, talk to him. And on this curvy road, I'm trying to drive. I have a water bottle that is almost slipping out of my hand. So all these things are happening, and I'm driving, and he's asking very interesting questions, like cloud computing and features of different phones, and a lot of technology-related questions, that I could never think that somebody who is, close to 90 would have any interest in. But I knew he was very capable of that. And I saw him at other times when he was just, somebody had given him the latest phone, Apple Watch. And there were a bunch of people in the room, and we were all trying to help him put on his wrist. So he removed the old Apple Watch he had, I put it down, and then some of us just opened the package and trying to put it on his wrist. And we couldn't figure out how to put the wristband. And we fumbled for a while, and then finally put it on his wrist, and we don't know how to set it up. And then he said, "Okay, I can do it." He just takes that, tuck, 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 here, okay, done. We all marveled, wow, he can do that, And we were very taken aback that, this man, although he's looks 90, but he's much younger in his mind. And not only that, we saw him drive off in his small car, and the speed at which he accelerated, really surprised us, because it was evening, it was poorly lit place, and yet he was, confident, a 90-year-old man, sitting in the car. I almost shouted back, "Ishwarji, somebody should take your license away," And so it surprised me a great deal that, the person who, we admire the most, look forward to him as a spiritual teacher, can as a master-disciple relationship can give you so many experiences, can tell you more about you that you don't know, and can change your life. I was able to meet with him in business settings. The reason he later explained to me was that, it is all karmic, there were a lot of people involved in the business. A lot of people had to trade karma, we have different, karmic load. And so, but this is all, business is just a reason to have a spiritual gathering, to have a spiritual satsang. And he always came back to that. And at other times he told me that, as long as his body is capable, he will continue to do his master's work. And he was here in that country to actually do the master's work. I saw it, and I could never believe that somebody would actually give up all the majestic life in any place, in India, and voluntarily, with their own volition, can set up a new life in United States, which could be a difficult life given his age. So unless it is compelled in a different way that we cannot understand, it's hard to give that kind of sacrifice. And I saw him give that sacrifice day in and out. Never seen anybody travel the way he did. The amount of discourses that he gave, it seems to be impossible humanly. And he could crack jokes. He can hold your hand. As I said, he could talk about soup, and he could probably give a discourse on soup. He would compare different religions, geography, and tell you, what are the similarities, what are the differences, why they happen in particular way. So I was extremely fortunate to have some of those glimpses, association with this master who I don't think I can ever comprehend without his grace. And I'm in this path just like you. I'm also starting from ground floor and we have a long way to go. But I just wanted to share a little bit of what I have experienced. And I feel that, I've been presented this wonderful opportunity of seva. And it is extremely difficult, as I said, I'm introvert by nature. So I'm just doing this because that was his will, that was his moj. I do not know why, how it happened, what is my association with him, none of that, but I'm willing to do whatever he asked me to do in my capacity, and so anything good happens to you, please give the credit to him, none of it is mine. And especially if something wrong happens to you, please give the credit to him, And I'm just here, as a vessel. Whatever happens, it's by his power. Because I'm here because of him. I'm just doing seva. And I would like to thank all the organizers here who have been supporting all of you. And I'm also doing seva to my master by doing seva to you. Right? When the master is not away, the best way is to do seva for him, is to serve the other disciples who are followers of him. So I'm doing
Keep
the
his
same.
memory alive.
Yes, indeed, it is. It is our privilege. Not only it is our duty, it is our privilege to keep the work that he and great master started. Right? Because if only we benefit, but people who are other seekers who cannot benefit, that will be such a waste of effort. A man of his stature walked on this plane. He held our hand. So I think we should do everything that he was here for. His mission was so much larger, right? So we have to keep that alive. I'll do my best to be here. Every opportunity that I get, when you invite me back, I'll be happy to come back because I'm not doing it for myself, and I'm just doing it so that he can bless me more. Yeah, seva is the life for most of us now. So I'll keep serving you as much as I can. The way he made an example of how to do a service for others and his master. I would like to thank you for taking time. It's Sunday, but some of you might be coming from distant places. Unfortunately, in this trip, I didn't have enough time. I came here for a very personal reason, and I'm, again, situation changed on the ground. I wanted to stay for a little longer time, but I couldn't. So I'll have to fly back immediately in a couple of days. But next time, I'm going to go to other places as well. And so don't be disheartened that I could not be somewhere else. So I'll definitely make a point to cover other places as well. Thank you so much.
Jagannath ji, before you go,
Yes.
I wanted to know if Ishwar Puri told you about his, because there was a question on one of those last meetups at Rice Lake. And I think even I had asked a similar question as to how do you see that this not be a cult? People forget the message,
Yeah.
and they start worshipping the messenger. That's when you lose focus, because then the pilgrimage comes into higher.
Right.
The persona becomes higher, and completely you lose the message. The messages go within. So
Yes.
did he speak to you about that, especially for Dera?
He spoke to not only me, he spoke to everyone about this aspect that when Master passed away,
Yeah, exactly.
everything becomes a religion. And he said that this will also turn out to be that.
This will, yeah.
Yes.
2018 that was, right? Or
Yes.
2019 in Austin.
So,
Were you there?
yes, I was there.
I was there too.
IMR, yes.
Yes, IMR.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I couldn't do the IMR, but I just went to meet him.
Okay.
I have a whole story I can tell you later.
Sure, I would love to hear it. So yes, he warned about that our we forget the core of the teaching. The teaching is not isolatory. It's not in isolation now that is being given. this message has not changed for a long time. Wherever the masters, true masters have appeared, that always the message has been that whatever you see outside is created, and anything that is created also gets dissolved. Nothing is persistent. So we need to find something that is unchanging, and satsang is part of that. It's a reminder for us to find something that is unchanging, and the truth is one that is unchanging. Because by definition, if something that is changing, you cannot define it. It doesn't keep its same face, same attributes. We need to find something that is unchanging regardless of time and place. So if we can find that it is immortal, it is timeless, that's when we find who we truly are. And that's when we can understand the game that is being played. Everything that is created outside that we experience, that is manifested in time and space. So if somehow our job as a seeker is not to go around, but there is a point in time that we do that, because that's the only thing we know. We open our eyes and experience this world, and we don't have any other reality. We cannot go to dream world and explore immediately while we are awake. We cannot go into different states of consciousness and explore that. So we are living in this reality, physical reality. We can observe things. So we have to start our work from there. But if our seeking is in the right place, if you're seeking the right thing, if you're seeking an iPhone, if you're seeking a car, if you have that kind of seeking, you will also develop, appropriate skills to acquire that. Whatever you are seeking, you will get that, right? But some of us have done that already, and found that, okay, these things is temporary in nature. It never gives you the final satisfaction that you desire. Then after we have gone through all this, we have read a lot of books, then we end up finding somebody who can really guide us. And they tell us that, don't even seek me, you go inside.
Exactly.
And you will find the true form, the Shabad that is ringing in you, that is manifesting as a radiant form, as a physical being outside. So find that, and then you will get all the answers. So I think that is the core of the message. And as a true follower of any master, we should keep that in mind, that you can drop all the forms, all the images, all the names, and go back inside. Because once you find that, if you find the truth, you will understand that this is nothing but a temporary Maya in so many languages, and we sometimes get caught up in these languages and make a differentiation between this path is better, that path is better, without actually knowing which one is better, without experience. Because mind likes to talk, it brings up ego. So a lot of times we want to make ourselves look better. So it's ego is speaking most of the time. And Ishuji has used to say, those those who talk know not, and those who know, they speak not. Right? So it's like that. So having a jaggery or sweet, you would just say, it's hard to describe what a sweet is, what a candy tastes like, what a sour is. You just have to experience it. You have to go to Mavi, you have to go to the destination to see what it is. Words can only go to a degree to just talk about it. So once, we are talking from our ego, that's why we make the differentiations. People, the senior seekers who have realized, you'll see that they speak less, they talk less, because they cannot explain it, and people who have realized some truth, they know that they can only, agree on that truth when they're inside. The rest of it is just some translation, some description of things happening inside. So I think people are speaking because they're maybe, they want to do it because of their ego, or they're misguided, misunderstanding, not exactly following the master's teaching. Because of that, these things happen. But masters also know that this is bound to happen, and this is a cycle that continues over and over. So they also recognize that, and only true Gurumukhs, remember that those teachings and remain true to that. And it doesn't matter whether the master has passed away. If he has seen you, if he has initiated you, he has given you the message. He has told you to go inside. And he has always said, it doesn't matter the path that you are on, as long as the direction is good. If anybody tells you, doesn't matter whether it's Radhaswami, Sant Mat or not, if he says that go inside, that's the right direction. You know, if you are in second grade and you are trying to become a PhD, as long as somebody who has 10th grade pass, he tells you that okay, take up these books and read, it's a good advice. So turning inside, going inside, if that is the right direction, automatically the path will open as we progress in that way. So I think it is because of our own limitation that we make a differentiation. We worry who is a master, who is not. We cannot recognize who is a master. Even I can't recognize. I'm not a master. But the love and attention, the time that I got, that's more than adequate for me to surrender everything of my time, right? Because I never experienced anything like that. Not only that, I saw my whole life change along the way. I cannot compare who this guy was in 2014, and things just happened after association with this master. So I know what is capable, what these masters are capable of. But ultimately they are here for a short time to give their message, and then they are gone. So we had wonderful opportunity and to associate with him. We should remember the core teachings, that is go inside, meet your master, and he is going to show you everything. So the message has always been short. Even in the past, if you look at Baba Jangal Singh Ji's message, Baba Sawan Singh Ji's message, and his masters, all of them say the same thing. And this is a path of love and devotion. And I know a lot of us find it extremely difficult to meditate. And that's why we also resort to doing seva, which is comparatively much easier. And but the result is same. We are doing seva in different ways. And so it's all wonderful. We are all doing it for him. All our goal is to somehow please him, turn our attention back, and find it beneficial for our spiritual growth. So we should not get discouraged that these things are happening. Always keep attention on the prime message that we have to ultimately, we are working on our own path. Even masters who come along and guide us, they tell us to come to the airport. They do not take us all the way to the airport. But somehow association with him, automatically gives us a pull to get to the airport. They cannot force us to take us. If it was possible, all of us would be in Sachkhand, right? They are, their heart is so big that they want to do that, right? But because of the rules that are existing in this universe, in this creation, they also play according to the karmic rules. They also take upon karma, and then they live a physical world, and they pay off karma. When they initiate, I've read descriptions of a lot of masters, so what happens to them after they initiate disciples? They take upon this karma upon them. So it's a life of struggle for them as well, because every time initiation happens, they give the gift of Naam to all the seekers, but they suffer the consequence of taking upon the large reservoir of karma of their disciples. But they do that happily. But it isn't without consequence again. So it has to be paid off somehow. So we don't realize the value of initiation, what master is giving us, and the ultimate core message. Especially after master goes away, we forget the core teachings of the master. So as a Guru Mukh, a sincere disciple, I think the best we can do is remember that master was here temporarily to give us something, and he gave us. Now it is up to us to make use of that and find that truth inside. So the truth is very short for them, right? Go inside and find the truth. And it has, that message hasn't changed. So we just have to remember it, and if we remember that, all the differences will go away. It doesn't matter who is talking about that. As long as they're talking about the same thing, you can follow it. Because Master also, our Master talked about the same thing. There is no difference in that sense. So I'm happy to see all of you, and I'll be happy to spend a couple of more times individually, those who want to talk to me, and I'll be happy to share your experiences. I love exchanging some of the experiences, because it surprises me how people were captivated by Ishwarji's message, and it always enlivens me, gives me gives me more energy to do his seva, because it reminds me that this is not something that can be done easily. Only with Master's grace it happens. So if Master has asked you for something, then you can give all you have for doing his work. So I'll be happy to talk to you later as well. Thank you so much.